Okay, Mishlei 21:22. Ir giborim Allah chacham the vayored oz mivtecha. Why is there a line above the? What's up with that? Above the hay. Okay, whatever. Okay, translation. Who wants to take a stab? Anyone?
A city of strong people.
Yeah, a city of strong people.
Upon it is a chochmah.
So I think here, Allah is a verb. So a chacham goes up into it, right? So let's actually reverse that in English here. A chacham goes up into a city of strong people. I'm pretty sure that's the way to translate it, but I guess we'll see what the English says. Vayored oz mivtecha.
And strength descends from his trust.
Yeah, mivtecha, I have no idea what that means. So it's something about trust, right? And strength. I always am in doubt about whether to translate oz as strength or power. So we'll just go like that. Goes down, and then it's mivtecha. I don't know what that is yet. Okay, so let's see. Mitzus Zion says vayored.
From its question mark. Right.
So I don't even know if that. I don't know. I think the miftach mishan miftach letzadikim. Miftach is a security. Like the mem is part of the word.
As in like thumb.
That's what Isaiah was asking.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure miftach is its own word. Yeah, and I think that if it were from, then I don't know grammar, but my grammar intuition tells me you wouldn't have a shva under the bet. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what it would be. We'll check that out after we look at Mitzvah Zion. Yored is milashon yerida v'hashpala. So going down or lowering. What do you say about the Targum?
Doesn't have a mem.
Okay, right, yeah. All right, so yeah, let's look at all Torah. All Torah says Mivtecha. It might just take us to the Shoresh, but we'll find out. Yeah, see, where's that line up there? I don't know what that is. All right.
Isn't it like an accent?
I mean, our school uses lines for accents. I've just never ever seen that on All Torah. Miftach, confidence. Interesting. Okay, so I guess it is a word. All right, so let's try that, and that might not be the only translation. So I feel like we need to grammatically tweak this here. It's confidence. How would we say this? Okay, a chacham goes up into a city of strong people, and strength and power goes down. Its confidence would be brings down, maybe. No, that'd be morid. But yored and its confidence.
I think it makes sense to.
Sorry. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the confidence of the city.
I think it's actually. I think oz is an adjective, or sorry, is a noun in the sense of the strength of its confidence goes down. Of its confidence goes down. Here you go, Mati. Oh, before you sit. All right. Yeah. I know we're not asking questions yet, but doesn't this sound bad? Right? Like you would think that the chacham is going to somehow raise up the strength of his confidence. Okay, so that to me indicates that either that's a question on the pasuk or we've totally translated the pasuk wrong. All right, let's see here. So
goes down.
Yored.
I'm looking at the pasuk in this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the line above the hay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I wonder. I'll ask Hillel later on. Okay. Sadigon says, "Yesh shiale hachacham el mivtzar hagiburim veyaros oz miftachan." Okay. So that's makes me much more confident because I think I just said the word confident because it's in the pasuk. But Sadigon has the yesh psukim. Yesh psukim to review are psukim where the pasuk sounds like it is stating a universal, but really it's stating specific cases. So he's saying there are cases in which a chacham goes up into a fortress of strongmen and destroys the power of their confidence or security. Yeah, that reads a lot smoother, right? I mean, I'm not dismissing the way we translated it. Okay, Targum says limidintal digibare salik chakima ba'aches ushna de sivra. The only word I don't know here is sivra, which you would think is like relate to svara? No, I don't know. Let's look at sivra. Oh, that's different. Jastro. Jastro. What are we looking at? Sivra. You can pass that down to Moshe. Let's see here. Sivra. Welcome. Okay, Sivra. Is that going to be with a? Is it going to put the yud in there or not? Sever, svara. Okay, we know what that is. We have to look at Sivra, but let's see here. Let's try that again. Oh my, okay. We're gonna abandon this. I don't have the patience this morning. Okay, we'll look it up if we need to when we do meforshim. Our scroll says the wise one went up to the city of the strong and brought down the strength of its trust. Okay, so that's very close to ours. That's kind of what I intuitively I said brings down, but I thought that had to be morid. I've never seen yored. I thought yored means to go down, not to bring down, but whatever. If our scroll says it, then they know grammar better than I do. Living Now says a wise man ascended to a city of the mighty and brought down the stronghold in which it trusted. Okay. Altar says the wise man goes up against a town of warriors and takes down its mighty stronghold. Okay. So I'm convinced now that this has to be an action of the chacham. So, and brings down the strength of its confidence or its security. Yeah.
Seems like multiple people are translating Tefilah as stronghold.
Yeah, correct. Stronghold. Yeah, right? So trust, stronghold, and stronghold, correct, right? Yeah. So I guess let's go like this: security and stronghold. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the English. All right. So now we can do the questions. All right. What are the questions?
What type of city is this?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a strong city, but
right.
what
Yeah.
exactly
What
does that mean?
Hold on a second here. What can we broaden that? What scenario is this talking about?
Yeah.
And then we'll break that into what type of city, what type of giborim.
Mhm.
Okay. And I do think that Alter had a good translation here that it could either be warriors or strong people, because gibor like means mighty, but gibor is like, gibor milchama, like a war guy. Yeah.
But the Giborim bad, like this.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So so like who are these giborim? Right? Enemies? Like, friends? I mean, because I think it sounds like enemies, right? It sounds like they're bad people, but I could also see, and maybe this is like taking a stance already, but I can see a thing where, like, let's say you have, this is just the first example that comes to mind, the Titanic, right? So what was the promise of the Titanic? Unsinkable, right? So if a chacham goes into it and like looks around, and like points out the fact that it's, structural integrity is such that if there's an iceberg crash, then it's going to all come down. It brings down the security, but that's a good thing, like it's people who are mighty, and the might is not like antagonistic, like they're enemies, but it's just like a misplaced notion of their own strength.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have to be bad, but it's a good question. Yeah.
What is the chacham doing?
Mhm. Okay. So
Also, why is he there?
yeah.
It's like
Okay,
a-
good. Right. So let's say, what is the relationship between this chacham and this city, right? What is he doing there? What is he doing there, and what is he doing there, right? In other words, like, why is he there? Why is he there, and what exactly is he doing to bring down the Oz Mivtecha? Yeah. Maybe that's actually a second question. Why is he there? Yeah, let's say, why is he there? And then what exactly is he doing to bring down the Oz Mivtecha? Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, I looked up Sivra in Jasper.
Oh, thank you.
It means hope, apparently, according to
Okay,
Jasper.
hope. Okay, so
So-
let's just add V'aches ushna de sivra. So it's translating security as hope. Yeah. Limdinta digibarai salik chacham. Salik just means to go up, and chakim is a chacham. V'aches. Aches, I think, is also is just a translation to go down. Thank you for commenting for my laziness. Yeah. Okay. What else?
What is the strength?
Yeah.
Or O's?
What is the O's miftechan? You could split that into two questions, but I think it's might be better if we treat it as one. What is the O's miftecha? Yeah.
I think you kind of asked this, but what type of, or how is he bringing it down?
Yeah. Yeah, like practically how. Practically how. I think also I want to convert the Saadia Gaon, our translation, into a question, which is this a universal, like, is this a universal or a particular situation? Because the pasuk states as a universal, but Saadia Gaon converts into a situation. Yeah, Ali?
Is this meant to be taken literally, or is this some sort of like metaphor about any like gathering of people? And any,
Okay.
like, stronghold?
Yes. Let's say what
That's what the practical application.
yeah. Let's do this. What is the practical application, and how far does it extend within the pshat? Okay, in other words, like I think what you mean by this question is like in the same way that when we have a pasuk about a king, it really means any ruler, you know, but you're not asking metaphorically, right? That would,
How broad is
yeah.
the audience, essentially?
Yeah, how broad is the audience? Yeah, so let's say who and how broad is the audience? Yeah. Intuitively, I'm going to make that into two questions, even though I usually make it into one. I don't know why. Yeah, Isaiah?
Does this work out well for the Gibborim? Like, does this
Yeah.
have good consequences?
Yeah. What is the, let's just say like what are the benefits and consequences here? Like, is this good or bad for the Gibborim, which might depend on like what Mati was asking about in terms of who are these Gibborim, you know?
Just wanted to add on to the who are these Gibborim question.
Yeah.
Are they like Rishaim? Are they like what kind of people are they, like, aside
Right.
from their interaction with each other? Are they like well, I guess what if they fall into a category of people, what are they?
Right. So I think that is encompassed in this question. What type of Gibborim? Who are they? Friend, enemies, friends, someone else?
Oh,
there some-
are you saying that's in the type? Like what type of Gibborim?
Yeah. Like who are they? Yeah.
Well, who?
Uh,
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you think you're asking a different question, then let me know. But I think I'm just expressing it a different way.
Yeah, it could be. I was taking the enemy's friends to be as like possible answers to the question of who they are. But that's more of like how do they relate to each other, not who they are as like.
Okay, I'll ask how do they relate to each other? Yeah,
Well,
Sean.
that was the enemy's friends part, I think.
Oh no, so I thought enemies friends is how they relate to the chacham.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, Sean.
Okay, so this is just in Saadia Gaon.
Yeah.
But why is this a yesh case?
Okay,
Right.
yeah. According to Saadia Gaon, why is this a yesh pasuk? Yeah, Ellie.
Are we saying that their confidence is going down in terms of their like strength and revolving around military, revolving around their own chochmah?
Yeah, so let's add that. Is that a different or just a more specific way of asking how does their O's miftecha go down?
Well, I'm asking really what the O's mean.
That's number 4.
Yeah, so that'll be number 4. Yeah, actually, we
Right.
should reverse these. Yeah. So what is the O's miftecha, and then what is the chacham doing?
Because like I kind of already have like a little idea, but I don't really know, depending on how you interpret.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I think we're almost ready for the ideas. I think this is it, right? Seems pretty good.
Yeah, we asked
Okay.
the audiences.
What was it?
We asked
We did ask with the audience and how broad they are. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Ellie. What's your little
Right,
idea?
so I'm just trying to think of times like throughout Tanakh when there's a really strong, where there's a stronghold that leads to confidence, and the first thing that comes to mind is like Jericho.
Okay,
That's
fair example.
So like they were like a strong city who
Yeah.
were really scared, but the only issue with that is that it wasn't really a chochmah that
Right.
brought it was more just fear in general.
Right.
Um,
Which could still be the strategy the Chacham uses, right?
right.
You know, like in other words, what that story illustrates is that it's not the power or of the offense or the defense that actually determines its fate. That psychologically, the way that they relate to it can have a big impact. Like I was thinking of a similar situation. It doesn't quite fit into the pasuk, but it might be related. Is David and Goliath, right? He was extremely strong and powerful, and people were afraid of him. And then David like used the strategy to like well, first of all, he played upon his there was definitely psychological mind games going on there, and he undercut it,
And also just based off Stoic Jew, it kind of seems like brains over brawn kind of thing.
Like what?
Like brains over
brawn, right?
Like
yeah, right.
That's what I got from only Stoic Jew. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear. Okay, anyone have a related or similar or different approach? Yeah, you had a different. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think this is somewhat similar to yours.
Yeah.
But a little bit more extended, which is that, so I'm defining like a city of Giborim, like people who are, the definition of a city is that like people are united around something.
Yeah.
Right. So it's or like kind of like a culture or an assumption of certain ideas, right? People have certain premises, right? And they base their lives off of these premises, right? And that's kind of what's running the entire social system.
Yeah.
Okay. And when a chacham goes, he sees them and they say this thing is a premise or it's axiomatic. He's like, why?
Right.
And so like you interact with people and they base their assumptions on whatever, right? And a lot of times because they've spent so much time basing their assumptions on this thing, right? So then it becomes as though it's fact.
Yeah.
And then it just takes one poll of that. Is that really true?
Right.
To topple the entire system that they've.
Okay, so that's good. I'm just gonna insert another nuanced question in here, in the what scenarios it's talking about. Actually, I don't know where to put this question. This might be, I'll put it here, which is like, what is an ear giborim, right? In other words, ear giborim. Usually you have an ear, and then there are giborim in the ear, right? Like whether they're the protectors or whatever. But like this makes it sound like the whole city is somehow like characterized by giborim, which is like So right. So Sean's saying that the way he brings it down is by like sowing doubt or question into the premise upon which their self-characterization or philosophy is like made. Kind of like, I mean, not exactly that this is ear giborim, but if you can imagine, so Socrates was in Athens, right? If you can imagine Socrates going to Sparta, like Sparta is an ear giborim, right? Like the whole society revolves around like military prowess and stuff like that. And Socrates would just do the same thing that he did in Athens and Sparta, but it might threaten the entire structure of the thing.
Threatened Athens too.
It did. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the fact that he did it even to allegedly a city of chochmah, Kolshkein, like a city of might.
With the foundation.
Yeah. Right. So let's take, hold on a second here. So these are two different interpretations. My mind keeps on being drawn to this one. Can we take this one and then, so let's develop the full idea then. So what would the point of the pasuk be then? And who's the audience? And so we've answered the question of how far this would extend, right? This wouldn't be Davka, a city of Giborim, right? This could be any city that revolves around a particular value. So I don't know if that's a problem with interpretation, like that means that there's something lacking that we're missing, or you could just say that it's using a particular example, but a city that revolves around money, sports, entertainment, whatever. To me, it still is a question like why emphasize giborim, especially because the emotional thrust of the pasuk is someone who doesn't look strong is bringing down strength. Like there's a strength play here,
Yeah.
Whereas what you're saying is broader than that and encompasses that. Yeah, Ellie.
Just a question on Sean's point.
Yeah.
This idea in general. If there is any circumstance in which confidence does go down, does that mean there's a chacham behind the shadows kind of like influencing that?
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I would think not, because probably the more common way that the confidence goes down is through actual defeat. So I don't think it's necessarily that this is the only way to bring it down. I got to add one more question also, which is, what is the Hava Amina and who holds it? Okay, meaning there's definitely a Hava Amina on the part of the Giborim, that they think that that their security is firm. But depending on who the audience is talking, who the audience of the pasuk is, if the audience is the Giborim, so then it's the same Hava Amina. But if the audience is, some other group, then what would they be thinking without this pasuk, and why would they be thinking it? Yes, just to repeat where we're at right now is I like the idea in Sean's approach that you have people who are supremely confident in the entire hierarchy and value system of their society, and the chacham can bring it down through a question, or a sowing a doubt. But then the question is, why Giborim, and why the emphasis on Gibor and strength and descent of strength? Strength seems to be pointing in a more particular direction than the idea that Sean was saying. Also, we didn't even ask, what is the definition of chacham in this context?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll remind you, hold on, in this context. So our two kind of go-to definitions of chacham are, you have the Chazal's definition of Ezihu chacham haro es nolad, who is wise, someone who sees the consequences of his actions. So that's like a Mishlei type of chacham. And then you have, in the realm of intellect, a chacham is someone who is a passive learner, someone who has received knowledge, as opposed to a navon who is a creative thinker and can derive new knowledge. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to be something, but Gibor and Oz are slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
So is that showing a difference?
Yeah. So let's
they're undermined in something that's similar but not exactly the same, or is it just a parallel?
Yeah. So what's the relationship between Gevura and Oz? Are they synonyms, or are they different? And if the latter, what does that difference suggest? We're gonna turn to the Rambam for that, I'm sure. Yeah.
So if we're going based off this interpretation, it seems to suggest that Giborim is not literal strength, but more of this firm belief system.
Right. That's how Sean's taking it. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. And I think there is ordinarily I would be reluctant to take that approach, but mivtecha could be a psychological thing, especially, the Targum was definitely taken as psychological when he translated it as hope, So once you're in the realm of the psyche, so then Gibor, I'm much more comfortable saying Gibor is just like a psychological thing. However, I still am inclined to think that it is psychological orientation towards some form of strength, like power strength, not just firmness of belief. I
also think that the fact that it's the chacham, he's not fighting with them in terms of physical prowess.
Correct. Yeah. The whole like the trope is like you were saying, Ellie, like the brains versus brawn. Yeah. Isaac, you have an idea?
It's like a different approach to that.
Sure.
Maybe it overlaps, but yeah. I think very often people will have confidence in their abilities that's maybe to some extent warranted, but also to some extent overblown. Mm-hmm. And so a chacham will be able to identify that and point it out and call attention to it. And I guess and this is the more speculative part of this, that people will perceive it as him taking away their strength.
Mm-hmm. Right. Meaning, even though he's really only making their view of their strength more realistic, then they'll say you took away our strength, right? I think for some reason the example that comes to mind is if you had like a sports team of some sort who like thinks that they're going to like supremely confident they're going to win, and they just have no idea who their opposition is. And then the chacham says, by the way, are you aware that like these guys are like, like unmatched in their skill or whatever? So the people on the team will feel like he deflated their strength. Really, he's just giving them a more realistic basis to like, he didn't change them. Like he just he gave them more data, if anything. Yeah.
Even further than that, if he doesn't even buy into the system of strength, like why do you even care about this? Right?
Yeah.
So like if everyone assumes that strength is like something that you should achieve or like attain, and then someone comes along and they don't even care about it, that kind of is like a rejection of what you're.
That's also true. In other words, there's the particular contents that he's saying, and then the fact that you are not a person who is swayed by their power, like that itself could be a defeating thing, even more so because they're undermining the whole thing. It's not just like working within your value system and framework and showing how you don't measure up. That is one challenge to your security. And then just like not even bothered by that, like that's what's the story with, who was it? I think they tell about Alexander the Great. Is Alexander the Great and Diogenes? No, I was going to say Diogenes. It's either Diogenes or it's who's the Eureka guy? Archimedes, right? Archimedes, the and a soldier, whatever it was, he was drawing like some sort of, it must have been Archimedes, because he was drawing a mathematical diagram in the sand. I don't think Diogenes was into math. And like this mighty soldier like came like in front of him and like was somehow like trying to show off his might or whatever, and like boasted about it, like he could do anything, he has so much power, and like Archimedes basically said like all I need to do is like just move out of the sun, like you're like in the way, and it was like just this undercutting, like this guy had all this prowess and strength, and like he's just like, just get out of my way,
I think that Diogenes and Alexander the Great.
Okay, yeah. The only reason I didn't want to say that is I wanted to be Malamed Zuchus, Don Zuchus on Alexander the Great because of Aristotle's tutelage, but you would think that, I know Alexander the Great didn't exactly take after Aristotle, but you would think that you would have respect for a chacham.
I think the story was actually that he
there are definitely two stories, by the way. Like I like, it's not a matter of one of them. Yeah, I'm just mixing up two stories. Yeah. What was the story?
I thought it was that he recognized that Diogenes was a chacham, and so he said he would give him like, I think maybe it was like he'd give him whatever he wanted. And he said, yeah. All
right, because that fits in with the Diogenes thing. And I'm thinking about how Archimedes died, which is because the soldier killed him after he like he was so angry about that, but whatever. We'll have to look it up and into it later. Yeah, Isaiah?
My question on this approach is like, why is it about an ear? This pasuk? It sounds like it's just talking to one, person to person.
Right. So that's why I added this, and I've been thinking about it ever since Sean said his thing. Did you have an answer? Or are you just raising the question?
I had my own thoughts, but
okay, sure. No, go ahead.
I think this pasuk is talking about like, you have sometimes like cities or nations or whatever where they're like, they view themselves as like kind of undefeatable, but they don't actually have like plans and ideas behind how they will like defend themselves.
Yeah.
They just view themselves as strong. They have a lot of people, whatever, so they think that they can never be like defeated in military. I guess it could be also other areas, but I'm mostly thinking like in the military terms. And but when like they're approached by maybe a smaller force, but it's a force that's using chochmah, and they know that it's using chochmah, their confidence immediately goes down. The chacham doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just immediately that the presence of a chacham, they'll realize they know like the power of chochmah. I think people just kind of know when a person's a chacham that like this person can undo your plans, and if they haven't like thought through their plans, I think they'll like immediately realize it in their confidence.
That's interesting. I definitely know that there are cases like that. What I'm wondering is in this pasuk, like I feel like there is an underestimation of the chacham going on as well as an overestimation of themselves. And so what I'm wondering is, I guess this is going to depend on what does the chacham have to do in order to have this effect. Like in Sean's approach, the chacham is actively like bringing something to their attention. And in your approach, like it's almost just the presence of the chacham itself is a threat,
Right. I guess the reason that I'm saying that is because it doesn't say like chacham does anything. It just says he goes up and then Bayard oath
Right. Yeah, that is an interesting question also, right? I'm going to add this onto our question of, why does the pasuk make it seem like the only thing he's doing is entering the city? Yeah, so that does lend support to your approach. Yeah, Eli?
Okay, so is the chacham, just getting another thing, chacham necessarily like a good person? Because I feel as though this pasuk could apply to anyone who had a sense of charisma.
Yeah, so in Mishlei, right, in Mishlei, I know in Nach, chachamim are not necessarily good. Like there's a Yirmiyahu phrase, chachamim lahera, like chachamim who do evil. In Mishlei, chacham is always good. There is another type of person in Mishlei who has a type of chochmah that could be good or bad, which is the arum, the cunning person. But chacham, I think in Mishlei is always good. Yeah, or at least when I say good, I'm including neutral in that. Meaning, he's not like he's not a Russia or a fool or an unjust person.
Because anyone who's really, I would think anyone who's well spoken has the ability to bring down the confidence.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's a fair question. And look, this is the type of question that I'm answering you based on my experience of Mishlei, but this is the type of question where like maybe your question is going to bring down my whole security and my definition of chacham, where like I've never tried reading Mishlei's chacham as like, let's say I'm just to attach a label to it as a like someone who's good in rhetoric, like someone who can like be persuasive, and maybe if I expanded it, then like it would unseat my whole approach to the chacham, I don't know. Okay, so where are we at? Let's just take stock of this. So we have 3 approaches brewing, right? We have your approach, which is Ellie's approach, which is the security that people take in their something physical, power, strength, defense. And well, I think the merit of your approach is that I think that's closest to the pshat, right? That the chacham is like somehow bringing down their confidence in their own security, right? That's why I'm gravitating towards that. And then you have Sean's approach, which is that you have people who basically have a firmness of belief in their cause and in their values and in their success in their values. And then the chacham can undermine that through like sowing doubt and questions and undermining the premises. And that is a good approach. And then the question on Sean's approach is why focus on strength specifically, And then you have Isaiah's approach, which is how did you say the Ir Giborim part?
They are like a group of people who trust in their like physical strength,
right?
Without chochmah behind it,
right? And then the presence of the chacham makes them start to question, like
their ability,
right? Yeah, like which I feel like
actually not their ability, but they're like the chance of their success.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's got to be good military examples of this. Yeah.
I don't think I don't know, but maybe the chacham is not necessarily just like intellectually smarter, but also like just a physically smarter person.
What do you mean physically smarter?
Like not physically smart, just like physically more powerful. Like you'll have people who are so confident in themselves until someone else comes along and just realize that they're just.
So why would it call him a chacham? Like chacham definitely like would seem to imply.
Chacham implies a superior force in this case.
Yeah, I feel. I mean. There's one reading of chacham that you can say, like in the Rambam in the Morning Mishlei goes through 4 types of chochmah, and one of them is skill. Like in this week's parsha of that there's a machlokas rishonim whether the pasukim say that it was chachamim who were building the Mishkan, but the question is, does that mean like they were chachamim in metaphysics and they also knew art? Or is it that they were skilled in art and that's being called a chacham? So I could be open to like, and that also kind of is in line with the Isaiah's thing, which is someone who knows strategy, or who is skilled in the area where the Giborim, in the same arena where the Giborim are like viewed as dominant, the chacham will bring them down, not through his like Mishlei chochmah, but through like being able to apply like a very, like an unforeseen strategy. Yeah, Chaim and then Isaac and I have an example of this.
Yeah, I'm just to go back. The question on Sean's shot was why Giborim?
Yeah, why focus on strength on Gibor, Oz, and Miftecha? Really? Well, Miftecha he explained, but Gibor and Oz. Yeah.
And that's why Isaiah's shot was that it's a din in like strategy.
Yeah, strategy, or I mean, we're still kind of like flexible within Isaiah's thing of like how much is the Chacham doing? You know, I do have an example though, which I want to say. Isaac, can I just say this example now before?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm not a Jeopardy person, but there was I followed in the news. If anyone knows the name of the person I'm talking about, then let me know. There was this guy, I think 2 years ago, who like came into Jeopardy and destroyed, like dominated the field. You know what I'm talking about?
Ken Jennings.
Yeah, right. So the only reason I know him is because he's a Magic player, or he was on Wizards of the Coast who designed Magic, and he was also a poker player. And what he basically did was he applied, and I don't know exactly what the particulars are. He applied like poker like game strategy like to Jeopardy, which no one had done before. And it was like in the way he studied and in the way that he like bet and stuff like that. And like it just was you had people who were Giborim in Jeopardy and they reached like a certain level of success, and he just applied a completely different strategy and just broke all the records. And there's an intimidation factor in that of like the people are looking at themselves and saying like, I thought I was really good at Jeopardy, but this guy's shifted the entire framework of the game. You know, there's probably better examples in military stuff also, but yeah, Bruce Lee. The only problem with Bruce Lee, I've never said that sentence in my life, but the only problem with Bruce Lee is that one of the unfortunate things is that he was not in competitions. You know, so you don't have him measuring up, and this is a criticism of him, that like he innovated all these styles and techniques and all this other stuff, but in like, you know, you don't have like part of it is because he died like really young, but like, you know, you don't have like the record of like competitions and stuff. Yeah, Isaac, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say two things. So one is just like a comment on like this phenomenon specifically, where I think Giborim or you know, I think people who are very confident about something can often dismiss like whatever it is that's like maybe like a cause for concern. Like if someone just makes like, or like let's say like an argument against, let's say someone went into Sparta and was making an argument, just the person was arguing against it.
Yeah.
People would be able to dismiss it because it wouldn't be such like a sharp insight.
Right.
But a chacham will have like a really like precise insight, and like they can't dismiss it because it like it's like sharply true, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's why the verb that keeps coming to my mind is like puncture. Like he punctures the bubble of their strength. I know that's not a real metaphor, but yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was thinking is that I think when someone is a gibor in one area, they tend to feel like they're a gibor in everything.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point. And it's funny because especially with gibor, it's funny with men and women. There's a similar thing that when a woman has beauty, then people project all other forms of perfection onto her. And when a man has physical qualities of strength, and it could even be something like height, like that was a thing, then people project all sorts of other superiorities onto him. You know, like that was George Washington was like and Shalom was like a head taller than everyone else. Yeah.
I actually have a pretty good example.
Yeah.
So in camp, I was a pretty tall kid.
Yeah.
But I'm like not good at sports.
Right.
So I was picked first overall.
That's funny.
Based on the assumption that I'd be good at basketball.
That is a good example. Right. It's funny because like, who says that tall people are good at skills? Like it has to be whether you learn the skills, you know, but like people just project onto it, you know. That's a good example. Yeah. I have seen about half of it, but I'm not a Bucky in the Office.
First season.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. Remind me the
Stanley.
Yeah.
Michael picks
Oh, Right. That's yeah. Yeah, that's a good example. So I think that's actually a different phenomenon than what Isaac's talking about, which both of them are explanations for what Moshe's talking about. That's stereotyping, right? This is, I think, I would guess that this probably has to do much more with like evolutionary like history of like powerful members of the species were the ones who were dominant because that was the only form of dominance. So when you see someone who has muscles or height or is just physically large, there's like a primal assumption that this person is successful, in other areas,
This one also, Isaac's interpretation seems to be more based off self-image.
Yeah.
Relate to yourself.
You mean of the Ir Giborim, that they relate to themselves this way, yeah. And the fact that it's a whole city of Giborim. Like, it'd be one thing that like I'm a Gibor, but when we all get together, we are unstoppable. Like that's the feeling that they have. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this.
Yeah, also just chiming in, just saying like echoing, I think what Sean's idea was in that regard, that they're going to be like a city is going to be like a almost like a bubble that's like self-reinforcing that this is like this is the sum total of what might is,
right?
And so and then the Chacham is going to puncture that because he's going to he's not coming from the same like perspective, and he's going to have insights into how that perspective is flawed.
Yeah, that's good. So let's do this. Let's take stock of the three approaches we have. And I want to write down the one sentence version of like the train of thought. I'm blanking. Do you spell your name with an E at the end or?
No.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, yeah. Wow.
I'm saying like there's like a shift in priorities of society.
Isaac, the question is, are you saying that there's a shift of priorities in society?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that question means.
He's not sure.
I'm not sure whether I am.
Strength is what used to be like the empirical thing that people see.
Yeah.
Like that strength is.
Right.
But then you realize that you have economics, you have like society that goes around more than just an army.
Right. Yeah, Isaac, I think Mati's asking on like the notion that they view this as the sum total of what's important and what matters.
There's so much other stuff.
Yeah, and then Chacham is causing them to question that.
Yeah,
which is in line with what Sean was saying, right?
I was explaining Sean. Yeah.
All right, so I'm not going to do full sentences here because I don't think we're up to that point yet. So Eli's approach was like the Giborim have psychological security in their strength, in their physical strength, and the Chacham brings down that psychological security. Sean's approach is the Giborim have firm confidence in their entire value system and like way of and like vision of success. Really, I'm kind of bringing Mati's thing into of success, and the Chacham brings it down through his questions and doubt sowing. Okay, and then our outstanding, I'll do outstanding questions later. And then Isaiah's is kind of like it's not a hybrid. The Giborim have confidence in their strength alone, but the Chacham has strategy, which is ultimately more important for success than strength. Is that fair? Than strength. Okay, and then
they recognize that,
So I like this on its own. Like, in other words, I don't think you need to go there, and I think that that's attributing too much. I think the reason why I'm turned off to that idea is it's attributing too much power too much insight to the Giborim. I think they need to see examples of it, like Mati was saying. And that's why I think like once he demonstrates,
it could be that he's demonstrated in other places. Otherwise,
yeah,
they wouldn't know he was a chochmah, I guess. But like if they knew he was a chochmah, I would
Right.
think they maybe would have this phenomenon, but here,
Yeah, I'll give you an example, and just because I think Archimedes was on my mind from the earlier example, like Archimedes comes and says, "Hey guys, I could build you war machines," right? And they're like, "Oh, you chacham with your calculations." And then I know that it's somewhat unknown about how many of these war machines actually did what they say, but the thing that he could pick up ships from the harbor and smash them against the rocks with a pulley, or the laser beams, right, with the mirrors that he would highly polished mirrors that would reflect the sun's rays and then burn the sails of the ships. And then they're like, whoa, okay, this chacham, he might not have muscles, but he could totally take out the army, or America. I mean, I don't want this is kind of an example of this, of Japan having supreme confidence in their military, which was through traditional means, not knowing anything about the power of an atomic bomb. That just, that's like the type of shattering that I'm talking about. All right. What was that? Right. All right, let's stop here for today. And tomorrow we'll go to the meforshim, and develop some of these approaches. All right, see you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.